Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. So today we're going to be covering an American article. I'm going to be honest, it took a minute to find one that was just kind of talking about body positivity in general, talking about fat acceptance in general. I'm trying to get a read on the moment. So that's what I've been looking for. I've been seeing a lot of British stuff or UK stuff, which is very odd to me. But it seems like a lot of American media is pretty quiet on this issue. Like I said, I had to look and look and look for something. So this is what I found. So I like to read these articles because I want to see what the overall narrative is. What I've seen so far is that they're saying that it was great before, but now it's terrible. So that's kind of what I've seen a lot. Let's see if this article is any different. This one says, the body positivity movement is over. Liv Schmidt and the rise of skinny talk. Okay, so let's see what we got. This is from June 21st, 2025. So here we go. Let's see. The bride had to do just one last thing before she walked down the aisle. I currently am in the bathroom in my wedding dress. I asked everyone for just a few minutes alone so I could message you this. Was she writing to an estranged friend, an old lover, the one that got away? At the beginning of her journey, the bride weighed 134 pounds. My goal was to just lose 5 pounds, she wrote, but she had somehow dropped down to 110. I'm crying writing this because I have never felt so healthy and confident. Thank you. The message was accompanied by 2 photos, a before and after. The first shows a thin woman who looks to be a size 2 or 4. In the second, the woman's bones are visible beneath her skin, her legs, and her leggings sag. She owed all of this to Liv Schmidt, a 23-year-old influencer known for her harsh, no bullshit approach to staying thin. Quote, you feel like a best friend and sister to me, unquote, the bride wrote to Schmidt, who shared the message on Instagram. Schmidt is the queen of skinny talk, a corner of the internet where thin, mostly white women try to make America skinny again. Her "What I Eat in a Day to Stay Skinny" videos thrust her into virality about a year ago. There she is with her mint tea, which she always drinks before eating anything, to check if she's really hungry or just bored, or a mile-high ice cream sundae that she'll take 3 bites of before tossing. She's very clear. She stays skinny by not eating much. Many find this refreshingly honest. Others think she's promoting you fall by the letter D. Influencers have condemned her. Magazines have published scathing critiques. Last month, Meta removed her ability to sell subscriptions, $20 a month for access to private content in a group chat called The Skinny Society on Instagram. And this month, TikTok banned the Skinny Talk hashtag worldwide, saying it was linked to unhealthy weight loss content. And in response, the right has championed Schmidt. She has been canceled, and she may be more powerful than ever. I didn't mean to join the legions of young women on Skinny Talk. It happened fast. I liked an Instagram reel about an easy, high-protein, low-calorie breakfast. What I got next, I didn't ask for. Within hours, my Instagram Explore page was flooded with videos of conventionally pretty, thin women preaching one message: stop eating. Phrases such as, you're not a dog, don't treat yourself with food, and the Kate Moss classic, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels, began to flood my feed and my subconscious. So if you guys see any of these, please send them to me in Instagram DM, because I would like to do a video responding to this kind of stuff. It's hard to find. I don't really see it on mine at all. But anything that's very diet culture-y or weird or whatever that you'd want me to comment on, please send it to me. And I'll look, because I want to start doing videos responding to that stuff. I might do one about cottage cheese, because there's a lot of stuff with cottage cheese that I've seen. So maybe that one will be coming. But I do want to react to something like this, especially if it's cringy or whatever. Like, just shoot me a DM on Instagram, because I am honestly not finding it on my algorithm, which admittedly, my algorithm is a bunch of like, right now I think it's like slime and Taylor Swift. Basically, Taylor Swift took over it because you know why. But anyways, okay. At lunch with a friend one Saturday, I didn't finish my salad. Do you know Liv Schmidt? I asked. The 3 Right Rule? Of course I do. She's kind of a genius. I realized I wasn't down this rabbit hole alone. I know the advice I'm getting from these women is not healthy, another friend said, but everything I want is on the other side of being skinny, and these women are going to help me get there. I like skinny talk. It helps me to not eat the extra thing I don't need. Don't like it, don't follow it. It's internalized misogynistic brainwash. I love that skinny bitch. Where had Schmidt come from? And what happened to the body positivity movement that have been so loudly touted through the past decade? All right, let's see what this article says. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? You can form a community around anything online. When I was a kid in the 2000s, teenage girls with EFOB by letter D were gathering on Blankspiration websites where they could exchange tips. Tabloids sold copies off body shaming. One day Britney Spears was too fat, the next Lindsay Lohan was too skinny, and my friends and I were going around with 100-calorie Chips Ahoy packs in our lunchboxes. By the time I was a teenager, the body positivity movement had arrived, promising to change the culture. Plus-size models started appearing in ad campaigns. The problem wasn't women's bodies, activists argued, but women feeling bad about their bodies. Yet when people tried to force society to embrace new body norms, society lashed out, bringing to the surface a lot of underlying hatred. Body positivity didn't resonate with a lot of people because it felt like lying. Interesting. I don't know how to pronounce their name. I'm sorry. A 25-year-old TikToker and a TikTok influencer who is getting a doctorate in computer science and communication at Northwestern University told me, many felt the movement was in denial about both the practical health risks of being overweight and America's willingness to put its ingrained fat phobia aside. That's cringe. Ozempic has accelerated that backlash against body positivity. Many of the plus-size leaders, so this is a big one, so they all mention Ozempic. You have to remember, I'm reading this to get like a whole picture, so I'm trying to make connections to other articles I've read. So this is a major aspect of their current narrative, which I have said from the beginning when it comes to Ozempic, they use it as a weapon. So this is another example of them using Ozempic as a weapon. Ozempic has accelerated that backlash against body positivity. Many of the plus-size leaders of the body positivity movement shut up and shrank down. Their followers noticed that they were using a weight loss drug. Apparently, you didn't have to love yourself as you were, and you didn't have to suffer to change either. See, this is a myth too. It's still hard, but don't you love how this article is doing the you took the easy way out line? Very interesting. You just had to have a prescription and enough money to pay for it. So you took the easy way out. You took the expensive way out. Interesting. So that's a reinforcement too. So that's saying like, if you decide to downsize, you're taking an easy way out. If you decide to use the drug too, you're taking an easy way out. Or you're privileged because you have money to do it. So you should be ashamed. That's a shaming tactic. Oh, aren't they so sweet? They're the sweetest, right? But what about those pesky last 10 pounds? The difference between being a size 10 and a size 2. Although some healthy weight women with no medical reason to take GLP-1s have nonetheless found workarounds to get their hands on the medication, most aren't going to those lengths. How would they keep up now that skinny was back? For some, the answer was skinny talk. You don't need a prescription to be ultra thin. You just need a bad relationship with food, fueled by a skinny stranger yelling mean girl mantras at you. In the end, the body positivity movement's lasting effect may have been to prove the validity of the very message it was trying to combat, that thinner people are treated better. So this is something that they have stated a lot, and they have actively reinforced that hierarchy. I have seen the ways in which fat activists talk about thinness and they put it on such a pedestal. They even fetishize thin partners. They are obsessed with it, sometimes more so than anybody. So to me, it's like, I've been saying from the beginning of my activism that the obsession with your body is unhealthy, regardless of which way it's going. It's not good for you. And it doesn't surprise me that fat acceptance basically brought body obsession to the table. It taught people to be obsessed, or it made that normalized, which here we are, for better or worse, here we are. At least many women feel Skinny Talk is telling them the truth. As one Skinny Talk influencer put it, don't sugarcoat that or you'll eat that too. I started listening more closely to the videos. They weren't just about self-deprivation. They were about being classy. They were about being a lady, the right kind of woman, one that men drool over. They were, most importantly, about being small. In one of Schmidt's videos, she's approached by a man in a black car during a photo shoot. The caption reads, "This is the treatment skinny gets you," was just taking pics. Then a Rolls Royce rolled up begging for my number like I'm on the menu mid-photo. He saw a clavicle, he swerved. He saw cheekbones, lost composure. So I will say it is dipping into toxic ritualistic because it's over-glorifying it. And it's giving basically a pissing contest between one side of the toxic ritualistic versus the other. So I think I have seen Liv Schmidt. I looked up her YouTube channel. She's very beautiful. I think that might have more to do with it than just thin. Not that thin doesn't help, but again, thin is not everything. It's not. And I try really hard to share that because being thinner, it doesn't get you like this magical treatment. It just doesn't. I'm a lot thinner than I used to be, and I don't have tons of magical treatment. I just don't. I'm not a charismatic girly pop. I'm just not. I have stink face or resting bitch face when I'm out in public. My hair is a mess. My hair is weird. I'm currently dealing with my iron levels and stuff. It's like people, they are pleasant or whatever, but they were mostly pleasant anyways. What really changed was just the difference between being invisible at that mid-fat zone to now being visible. And then people do comment on my downsizing in public relatively often. So, because I'm known around these parts, I told you. In Derry, Alabama, I'm a local celebrity, so no, I'm just kidding. But kidding, but not. Like, I'm known. I'm known around these parts. So people have commented on it, which I don't mind it at all. Like, I think when it first happened, I was minorly triggered when I was morbidly obese, when I was in my tortured Mo era. It triggered me a little bit, but by now I'm so used to it, I don't even give a crap at all. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm just like, yes, thank you, da, da, da. And then I just move on. It doesn't matter at all. But the point is, like, is that magical treatment? Is somebody pulling up in a Rolls Royce? No, they're not. This is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous expectation to have from being thin. It is stupid. It's not real. What you'll have is you'll have normality. So when I'm out in public now, I feel normal. People look at me as normal. And normal is what you make of it. Normal can be a trigger for people within the toxic ritualistic as well, because they find normal to be boring, because they don't want to actually develop a personality outside of it. I'm going to be harsh. I'm just going to blatantly say what it is. So, but for me, I'm introverted. I don't care about being boring in public. I really don't. And it is what it is. Now we'll see, like, if and when, well, not if, I'm going to, when I get to Snatched, how things change, if I'm in shape, how things are different, etc., right? But just being thin or normal, fitting into mainstream society completely, it's just whatever. It's not bad. I do think that there are some benefits, but it's mostly just a sense of neutrality. That's it. So it's kind of like, I guess it's just easier to fit in, you know? But what is fitting in? And how valuable is fitting in to you? If it's not that valuable to you, then it's not going to matter that much to you. What I value personally is when I look at myself now, I feel normal. And I don't feel like insecure. I just feel like, okay, whatever, you know? Like, I'm just glad that mid-sized princess era I went through is done, because that was really hard, because I did feel insecure and I didn't like the way I looked. Now it's kind of just like, I just don't really think about it and I don't really care. And to me, that is valuable. That's very valuable. And then just being calmer in general, having a more regulated mood as a part of being healthier, that is valuable to me, because it makes relationships easier and it makes getting along with people easier. And I don't feel like I have to like hold back a reaction, or I don't feel like I'm going to react. I don't feel that way anymore. It's just easier. I'm not on high alert all the time. And I think a lot of times people don't understand how much being obese can contribute to those feelings. And so no longer being in that, I don't feel that way anymore. That's valuable to me. But is a Rolls Royce pulling up in Derry, Alabama, begging for my number? No. Would that happen if I was in shape? Probably not. And so it's important to not, would it happen to you if you were snatched? Probably not. It's important to not have those ridiculous expectations. So let's start there. I can expect to be treated like a normal person. I can expect normality, normalcy. That's what I can expect. And then we'll go from there. Okay? I know it's not that exciting, but it's also not bad either. It's probably better, to be honest. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. Oh my goodness. Skinny talk influencers basically never talk in their videos about politics. They aren't preaching about Donald Trump, let alone about issues such as abortion or immigration. And yet everything they talk about, the emphasis on girls and how girls need to behave and how they need to be, is of course political. A few days after my Instagram feed surrendered to the Skinny Talk takeover, the trad wife content began to sneak in. Beautiful women baking bread in linen dresses spoke to me about embracing my divine femininity. I should consider softer living and embracing my natural role. All of a sudden, I wondered whether I, a single woman in her late 20s living in Manhattan, should trade it all in to become a mother of 10 on a farm in Montana. Goodness, if you're that suggestible, I'm just saying, that's pretty wild to me, personally. That is wild. I think that my view on that type of thing has always just been to be who you are. I think that most people are a mixture of masculine and feminine. Obviously, most people are firmly on one side or the other. It's kind of like being introverted or extroverted. Like, we can all have combined traits, but we're still at home on one side of it typically. And, for me specifically, being gay and all that, I did have to come to terms with my femininity and like actually accept it, embrace it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think even throughout this process, throughout downsizing, there have been moments of accepting my femininity, but I'm at peace with it now in a way I probably never have been. And I think part of it is just because my hormones are a bit more stable now. And so I can kind of just settle to where I'm at, you know? But that's like a different aspect. It's a different journey. It's a different thing because if you're very hugely fat, you're not necessarily yourself. You're dysregulated physically. And that can lead you to be dysregulated emotionally or psychologically because you're so unwell physically. And I think it's important to consider those things and how those things may affect your relationship with your femininity or masculinity, because you may not feel like you know? Like, I'm just trying to be real about it. Like, people have an identity loss aspects at times when they become super morbidly obese, and that isn't talked about enough. So I'm talking about it, you know? So anyways, that's all I'm trying to say with that. Let's continue. Watch a few more of these videos and soon you'll be directed to the Anti-Vax Moms or to the Turning Point USA Sweetheart, Alex Clark's Wellness Podcast, Cultural Apothecary, or the full-on conspiratorial alt-right universe. This is just how the internet works. Evian Ledig, if I pronounced that wrong, I'm sorry. The author of The Women of the Far Right, Social Media Influencers and Online Radicalization, sees a connection between skinny talk and trad wives in their very strong visual representation of femininity. Whether they mean to be or not, they have become part of the same pipeline. Algorithms grab your attention with lighter, relatable content while exposing you to more extremist viewpoints. The alt-right, she said, is great at making aspirational and seemingly apolitical content that viewers relate to. This is a deliberate strategy that the conservative space has been employing over the last several years to capitalize on cultural issues as a gateway to radicalize audiences into more extreme viewpoints. Okay, well, that can be her political opinion. I am thinking more about the, I guess, weight loss aspect, the trad wife aspect, I guess, you know, but it's like, I guess what I have an issue with is this idea that like when you see something online, you just totally internalize it and accept it without any critical thought. To me, that is very alien, and I would hope that that is alien for you as well. Like, I hope that that's alien for everybody, because that is a bit much, in my opinion. I don't think that that's really the case. I don't think that people just see something online and then that's it. I think what tends to happen is people have views, and the internet can be more polarizing, or like algorithms can be more polarizing, but people tend to already have those views. I don't think that it tends to change somebody's foundational perspectives, but it can make those perspectives perhaps more extreme or more polarized within somebody who's on the right or on the left. Like, for example, if we're going to do it, I can do it back to you, Evian. For example, fat acceptance. Somebody can, like a post about civil rights or gay rights or black rights or, whatever. And then that leads to a fat acceptance post. And then they're like, okay, well, yeah, this should be a part of radical acceptance of anything, kind of thing. And then you're like full on accepting E fall by the letter D. You're promoting it in others. You're enabling it. You're reinforcing it, maybe even unwittingly. And you've become a part of a pathological issue. because they used certain left-wing words or certain ways of coding themselves as left-wing. Maybe that could happen, but it doesn't happen to everybody. But maybe to some, maybe who are more suggestible, that can be an issue too. I think it's what I tend to see in terms of online political polarization is a issue of echo chambers and of alienating oneself from another perspective, and then you can lose touch with what that other perspective actually believes or actually is saying, which I have always done my best to not do that, basically, and I haven't had as many issues with that kind of thing, and that's what I would suggest, basically. But anyways, that was a long rant about something that's barely relevant, but that's just, I guess, what they're talking about here. So they're trying to talk about being thin is now leading you to the full-on conspiratorial alt-right universe, as if you believe in one, you're automatically going to believe in the other. If you aspire to be thin, then you're going to be a conspiratorial alt-right person. It would be like saying if you believe in left-wing politics, then you're automatically going to be a fat acceptance activist. It's just not really reality, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, 2 months ago, Evie Magazine, a right-wing publication that promotes traditional femininity, ran a profile on Schmidt. Banned for being honest, meet Liv Schmidt, the girl who made Skinny go viral. The magazine had one of the biggest tradwife influencers, Hannah Nealman of Ballerina Farm, on its cover back in November. The article about Schmidt focusing on her being canceled and banned on a number of platforms for promoting thinness. I don't owe the internet a version of me that's palatable, Schmidt told the magazine. If a girl bigger than me posted what I eat in a day, no one would care, but when I do, it becomes controversial. Why? Because I'm blonde, thin, young, and unapologetic. So this is interesting because fat acceptance set this up too. So that's very interesting to me because this statement is true. And how do we know that this is true? Because it happens every day. The cynical dude literally has a segment on his channel, what I eat in a day videos, because they're that popular and nobody cares about it. So that's kind of interesting. And I do think that there is a massive ignoring or bias of binge issues. Whereas like on this channel, we don't support either one. I already disclaimed one of her points just in this article. We don't play those games here, regardless. So it's interesting, to say the least. But okay. Last year, Evie profiled Amanda Dobler, another Skinny Talk figurehead whom it described as TikTok's skinny queen, both brutally honest and surprisingly sweet. Oh, goodness. The more the left has attacked Schmidt, the more the right has celebrated her. Yeah, which this is just... yeah, it's just a shit show. That type of thing can be like... this is where we can have a lack of critical thought on both sides, with all sides, etc., where if one side likes something, the other side doesn't, etc., and there's no real thought process behind it, which is bad in my opinion. But again, I never was on here saying that the right is going to save us from fat acceptance or from The toxic ritualistic, they're not aware. A lot of people are not aware. And no, just because something is the opposite of something a left-winger says, that doesn't mean that it's good. It can still be bad. And it still has to be met with scrutiny, skepticism, all of it. And nuance, too. Which that's why I really resent the politicization of this issue, because so much of politics is incredibly black and white, which can very easily overlap with the black and white thinking of the toxic ritualistic, which this is not a black and white topic. It has to be gray. It needs shades of gray to understand. So, I don't know. I'm sure that not everything Schmidt says is bad, but that one about the Rolls Royce, that was pretty bad in my opinion. That was pretty stupid. Okay. Bat, who describes herself as progressive, said, I think the left is deeply, deeply exclusive. On the right, you're allowed to make dozens of mistakes and not be shunned. They say if the left doesn't welcome you, we will, and they always do. You can't deduce a political manifesto from someone's Instagram followers, but it seems worth noting that Schmidt follows conservative figureheads, including RFK Jr., Candace Owens, and Brett Cooper. When she posted about losing the paid subscription feature on her Instagram, through which she had been making nearly $130,000 a month, according to Airmail, she tagged Joe Rogan. She's clearly trying to get her foot in the door with the alternatives. Ali Ambrose, an influencer who critiques Skinny Talk, told me. Ambrose struggled with an E followed letter D for years, says Schmidt's content pushed her back into unhealthy habits. So I think that this, I would agree Schmidt is probably on the right, especially if she's reaching out to people and stuff like that. But, people have their political views. I don't know if she's a political activist or if she does all that. If she does, then it's totally up for grabs. A lot of fat activists do political activism that's outside of that too. And people can criticize and have issues with that however they want. But let me just state it once again for those in the back or for anybody who's forgotten. There is no correlation between fatness and belief. You'll find out in the real world there is many a right-winger who is very fat and many a left-winger who is thin. I know this is very touching grass. This is a very touching grass moment. But we need to remember the reality of the situation. This is not a political issue. Somebody having politics does not make it a political issue. It just means that there's somebody with politics. Just like there are people within anti-FA that have certain political leanings. I do my best to separate politics from this completely because it is really annoying to me. So I don't engage with it whatsoever on this channel. But some people do. They'll say things here or there or whatever, and that's their right, My only qualm about that is, don't demonize people politically within anti-FA. I don't like that. But people can have their views and people can do whatever they want. I'm not a fan of mixing politics with it. I'll say it forever till the cows come home. But other people are going to do what they want, So that's their prerogative. And some, it's one of those things where within a movement, different people need to hear different types of voices to get the message, basically. And I try my best to have a very middling approach, both from a harsh to soft perspective. And I try to be as apolitical as possible. That's basically my thing when it comes to this stuff. So, anyways, I'm sure you guys already knew that, but I'm just probably ranting way too much. Okay, let's go ahead and continue with this. Schmidt's appeal does cross party lines, though. When I polled a politically diverse group of my own friends, my most conservative friends loved Skinny Talk. A number of my progressive friends did too. They just felt like they shouldn't say so out loud. It's because it's not political. But I do appreciate that this article did say that, because that's giving some truth that it isn't. Schmidt has written that the skinny society is not a starvation or extreme community. She didn't respond to multiple requests for an interview, but I spoke with Amanda Dobler, another Skinny Talk influencer. She remains on TikTok, though she has twice been temporarily barred from its creator rewards program, through which she made some money for her videos for not abiding by community guidelines. Dobler is almost 10 years older than Schmidt, so she attracts a slightly different demographic. I asked her if she considered herself a political person or her content politically charged. She responded with a decisive no. I'm up at 4 a.m. working my ass off, so I would say I'm the opposite of a trad wife, she told me. If people relate it to right wing, to left wing, she said, there's only so much of the narrative that I can control. Yeah, I mean, people are going to relate to things however they want to, but I just try to always be respectful of everybody's beliefs, basically on my channel, especially because I'm very much a coalition person when it comes to this issue. I think that's how we get things done. So that's part of my goal and part of my activistic vision is to be respectful, so there have been certain issues that I won't take sides on and stuff like that. I don't do it, which I have gotten criticism for, but it's because it's like, no, I'm going to be respectful, or I'm going to keep things neutral that are not related, But anyways, okay. So let's continue this. Dobler is known for her directness. If anything, she's even harsher online than Schmidt is. Right before our call, I scrolled through her TikTok profile. You are killing yourself with the shit you eat. It's disgusting, and you should feel shameful. Oh, see, I don't know about that. I don't like that. I'm fine with this. I think telling the truth is important, but remember that shame is a part of a toxic ritualistic cycle. So I would never encourage that in somebody. I just wouldn't. No. I don't think it's helpful. I briefly wondered if she'd be able to detect my own insecurities through the phone, but the Dobler I spoke with was approachable and friendly. I instantly liked her. I even opened up to her about the things I wish I could change about my body. There's nothing wrong with wanting to look a little better, she said. Unlike a number of Skinny Talk influencers who only just entered the field, Dobler has been a fat loss and mindset coach for 6 years. She talks about the importance of getting your nutrients instead of exclusively practicing restraint. She also pushes for a consistent workout routine, while others focus exclusively on their step count to burn calories and avoid bulking at the gym. Skinny Talk is a spectrum. I brought up the criticism that Skinny Talk content encourages young people to adopt E followed by letter D. Dobler said that she doesn't coach children and that the majority of her clients are in their 30s through 50s. I get it. It's hard if you're a parent seeing stuff online, she told me. But at the same time, there's corn online. There's a bunch of weird crap. I think that there's a lot of other censorship that should be going on. When I asked why she was so harsh in her videos, she told me, that's the type of talk that I need. I wouldn't say that I'm mean, I'm just blunt, she added. I've been in all the situations that I'm talking through, so it's not like I'm just up here scolding people. I understand that. I just think the shaming aspect is bad. I'm still going to say that. But I think a lot of times when people do approach anti-FA, Skinny Talk, etc., people tend to, for me at least, I try to be the person that I needed. So, I needed to see reality. I needed an emotional way out. I needed somebody to talk about identity. I needed somebody to talk about the DIS order. That's the kind of stuff that I needed when I was young, and that's what I try to provide. And I also need somebody who stays on the topic, which is what I tend to do. So I don't get distracted with other stuff because I'm in the business of getting this done. It's like we're here to get it done. We're not here to talk about culture war, trends and stuff like that. We're not here to do all that. We're here to get it done, and we're here to specifically target this issue. That's what we're here to do. Okay, anyways. This echoed something Bat had said to me. Skinny Talk's ruthless tone rings true to many women because they're already being so ruthless toward themselves. I'd be kidding myself if I said a woman's body size doesn't affect her prospects for dating and even jobs. I'd be lying if I said I did not desperately want to be slightly thinner, that I hadn't wanted that from the moment I first watched my mother critique her own body in the bedroom mirror. I hesitate to admit that I've lost 4 pounds since I saw my first Skinny Talk video. I have not walked 40,000 steps a day, nor have I stopped eating after 3 bites. I've just stopped eating when I'm full, which, as silly as it sounds, I did learn from Skinny Talk. Still, I think it's time to unsubscribe. The body of my dreams isn't worth risking my health for. I have 2 nieces, ages 3 and 6. I hate the idea that someone might one day tell them to shrink themselves. To them, a swimsuit is nothing, but a promise that they'll spend the afternoon running through the sprinkler. They're perfect, and they dream of being bigger, faster, stronger, not smaller. So I think this article, it wasn't the worst, actually. I'm kind of impressed by it. I'm going to be honest. I'm a little bit impressed. Like, obviously, I didn't love every single aspect of it, but I feel like it really did capture the moment in a way that mostly resonated or mostly rang true. And she was willing to challenge some of her assertions and stuff. So I think that that was interesting. Obviously, I can't stand the politicization aspect. But, you know, they're still going to do some toxic ritualistic reinforcement. And they're still going to do some stuff to reinforce or maybe not piss people off that have the E followed by the letter D, which I'm not shocked. But, you know, I am skeptical of Skinny Talk. I'm sure that there are some good takes and bad takes. And like I said, I would like to cover some of those aspects. Like, I don't think I can call it that because, you know, we'll see if this video even can stay up, you know, at this point. But I think that it's important to discuss because we do not want things to go too far the other way either. That's incredibly important. So with that, you guys, I'm going to go. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, night, etc. I'll talk to you later. Bye.